So for this video, this is the Pert practice test, and we're doing questions 19 through 22. So for number 19, we are just going to completely disregard this question. None of the answers are right, and it's not really factorable, so just disregard. So let's go on to question 20. So in question 20, and I'm sorry, the line's already there. When we are doing this, when it's asking you to factor and there's 4 terms, what I want you to think about is cutting it halfway, right? So on this side, we're going to take out the GCF, and we're going to end up getting some numbers in a parenthesis, a little binomial. Then over here, we're going to take out the GCF as well, and we should get the exact same binomial to make sure we did this right, right? So if they're not right, we didn't take out the right things. So on the left-hand side, the GCF of the numbers is the number 4, because we can take a 4 from both of those. And then the variables that we can take out, we can take 2 x's from both of them. So x squared is the GCF. So we have 4 divided by 4, which is 1, which we don't have to write, and then x cubed, and we take out 2 of them. We're just left with an x left. 12 divided by 4 is 3, and we already took x cubed divided by x cubed, which leaves us with just 1, so we can cancel them out. So over here, it looks like there's not a GCF, and there really isn't. However, when you have a situation like this, you can take out the number 1. And if we take out the number 1 from both of these, we are still left with x plus 3, because we have to have something. These binomials need to match. And if we did that right, that is actually going to be one of our factors. So the last portion is like, well, where do you get your second factor from? Well, it's these outside numbers, these GCFs that we took out. So we have 4x squared and plus 1. So your answer should be A. And I know that they're in different places. It really doesn't matter which place you put them in. So, all right. So let's go on. So for question 20, we are asked to find one of the factors of a trinomial. So I'm going to show you my way of factoring. As a math teacher, I just wanted to let you know that there are multiple ways to factor, for sure. This is just a method that I have learned and taught my students. It is not the only way to factor, for sure. So if any reason this gets confusing or it's just not your method, as long as you get the right answer, you're on the right track. But I just want to leave, this is not the only way to do this. So when I factor a trinomial, if I factor anything, I make a t-chart, which I've done in previous videos if we factored previous videos before. And I always have to multiply, I have to find 2 numbers that multiply to be the outside numbers multiplied, and add to be the inside number, which is this -2. So I need to find 2 numbers that multiply. 3 times -8 is -24, and then we have -2. All right, so 2 numbers that multiply to be -24. When you're doing this, it could be a trial and error. It really doesn't matter which 2. So let's just say I chose -12 and 2. Right? But when I add them together, I get a -10. That's not -2, so that's not going to work. So I have to try to think a little bit differently. So what if I did -6 and 4? -6 times 4 will be -24, and -6 times 4 is -2. So this is my pair of numbers. So your next step is I'm going to break apart this middle using the numbers I just had. So we have 3x squared. Then we have -6x and positive 4x minus 8. I got this -6x and 4x. It broke into this. I got these numbers. We can ditch the -2 because we're going to break it apart. Then we're looking at this just like we did the previous one. So I told you when you say a 4 of them, we can go ahead and cut it in half. And I'm even going to change color so you can see like it's a whole nother step. So we're going to break it in half. And on the left-hand side and the right-hand side, we're going to take out a GCF. And once we take out the GCF of both sides, we should have what's in here in the parentheses the exact same. Okay, so over here, the GCF we can take out is a 3x. So over here, we're just left with x, because 3x squared, 3 divided by 3 is 1, which we don't have to write. And x squared with minus, you dividing out an x just leaves us with an x. Then we have minus 2, because negative 6 divided by 3 is 2, and these x's will cancel. Over here, we can take out a 4. And again, when we do this, 4 divided by 4 cancels to a 1, and we bring the x. Negative 8 divided by 4 is negative 2. I know I did this correctly because my parentheses match. So my two factors here is x minus 2, and my other factor are these numbers that we took out, our GCFs, which is 3x plus 4. So when it asks which is one factor, then your final answer would be D, 3x plus 4. Switch back to blue. All right. And the last one for this video is number 23. And in this case, it wants one solution for this situation. So when it's so our first step here is we want to take out a GCF because there is a GCF in here, and it's 4a. And if we take out 4 divided by 4 is 1, and then we have this a squared divided by a, which is just a, plus 5, because 20 divided by 4 is 5, and then the a's, a divided by a would just be as gone. So now we have two factors, but it doesn't want a factor, it wants a solution. So we need to set both of these equal to 0. So we have 4a equals 0. So we can divide both by 4, and a equals 0. So none of those are part of it, so it's not that one. So let's try a plus 5. A plus 5 equals 0. I'll subtract 5 from both sides, and a equals negative 5. So your answer for number 22 would be